Hello guys, welcome to the video number 4 of this sequence of videos that is a sequence where I am developing a project called Smart Translator. This is a project to translate some words in English to Portuguese and then create some phrases with it in English inserted in some context, just to consolidate this learning in the brain of the user. So in this video we are going to build the schema with Prisma, the database schema, and let's begin. I think in the second video I showed to you some draw that I did of the database schema. So let's follow this for the beginning, and if we have to add some columns or some table, we are going to make this. So let's open the Prisma docs here and let's start. I'm gonna start Prisma with Postgres database, and that's it. Let's install Prisma. I just have to install Prisma. Oh, it's a dev dependency. Okay. So let's just add the Prisma dependency here. The CLI. Okay, Prisma added here, and then we just run Prisma init. Okay, so I already have a .env file here, and Prisma generated this file here, schema.prisma, and here is the file that I will create the schema, the tables itself. So yeah, let's go. So I will start by create the users table because I think it's more simple. So I can put model user is gonna have a ID that will be a string. It will be the ID of the table, and by default it will be a UUID. And I can type here that it's a type db dot UUID. Give the type to this column as a UUID. For the second column, I'm gonna add name. That's gonna be string, email, string with unique here to add an index and table because I want to search for a user sending the email, for example. So this unique here, we're gonna create the index for this table. Password is gonna be string, and then created at as a date the full null, and I like to add updated at. Okay, so I think that's it. I like to create the table, the models with the first letter in uppercase, and the columns I like to create in using camel case, I think. But in this case I like to map here, so I can map here to created at to be a snake case here too, and I like to map the table name to all letters to be lowercase. Okay. So now I'm going to create the translation phrase, because this is the two main tables, I think, the core application tables. So I'm going to create translations users here, translations. Again, I will have ID. I'm just gonna do here. I will have target word. That is gonna be a string, and I think it can be unique because I will not translate the same word 2 times, you know. So if I already have some word translated, I would just fetch this and return back to the user. I will not call the AI again and translate. So translated word, so the word after return from the AI, translated language from string and language to string, and I'm gonna add created at and updated at here. Okay, I'm gonna map this to, and here, oh my god, I'm gonna map everything here. Okay, and I'm gonna map the translation table name it to. So okay, I have target word, I have translated word, language from, language to, created and updated at. Okay, I'm gonna just create the tables before, and then I will do the relations between it. Okay, so now I'm gonna create users translations. I think can be user translations, users translations. Okay, ID is string. Okay, I have the user ID. I think with Prisma I can do something like that to give me a fast way of relation these tables. User, and when I save that, oh no, it's not saving. Okay, let's do it manually. So user ID is gonna be a user relation. Just a second, guys. Okay, guys, let's continue here, and let's continue to create this users translations table. Now I'm gonna have to relation this table with the user ID. So I put here user ID is gonna be a string map here. I can put this too, because it's gonna be the user ID that is a UUID, and also I have to put here translation ID. Okay, so translation ID is gonna be string. Okay, now to make, I'm gonna map here, and now to make these relations between the table, so to map this user ID with this table and this translation ID to this table, I have to put here something like users relation fields. I can say that the user ID of this table references the ID of the users table. Let's see what's happening here. Foods ID reference. ID, user ID, error validating field users, translations. Okay, I have to add manually here. So, okay, because I'm used to just hit Control plus S and then the Prisma format. I can run the Prisma format command, but as you can see here, Prisma format to add it automatically, but let's do it manually. So I add the relation in this table, but I have to reference in the users table, the target table. So here I'm gonna have users translations. That is gonna be this. So in users, in the users table, I'm gonna have so many relations of users translations. I don't know if it makes it makes sense, but it is what it is. But basically I had a relation here in the users translations, and then I have to reference this here in the users table itself. So yeah, and then I have to add translations. Yeah, I can say that the field translation ID in this table references the ID on the translations table, and here's the same. I have to add here some reference to it. So here I can say I can put just translations, and here I can maintain users translations because it's on user table. Or not. Here I can put users, and here I can put translations. Does that make sense? Because this is the relation between user and translations. So in the users, I'm gonna have some reference to this table telling me that this is the translations of these users. And in the translation table, I'm gonna have users. So yeah, I think it makes sense, but if it not make sense, I will fix it. So okay, let's keep pushing here. Now just have to create this translation phrase. Translation. I'm gonna have idea. I'm gonna have translation idea. Let's see if the Prisma formats here. content. I just tried to run Prisma format command, but let's keep pushing here. Content is going to be just a string because it's the sentence itself. Translated content is going to be just a string. Created at and updated at. I'm going to add here too. Created at, updated at. Okay, and here I have to relate this with the table. Okay, let's try to run this again. Okay, formatted. But not as expected. So in translation table, translations, I'm gonna have the translation phrase. So phrase, translation phrase. Okay. So let's review it. I have a users table that has an ID, name, email, password, created at, and updated at. Here we have translation tables with ID, target word, translated word, language from, language to, created at, updated at. Also we have users translations with ID, user ID, translation ID, and this translation phrase with translation ID, content, translation, created at, updated at. But I have the extension here of Prisma, but for some reason it doesn't format it for me. Enable. I'll just reload the VS Code to see if it's a bug. No. Format document. Biome configure Prisma. Okay. So it formatted to me. Let's see if what I try to do now I can do it. Translation. Yeah, if I just put translation and the name of the table and save the file with that extension of the Prisma, it just makes the relation automatically to me. So yeah, just reference here, and in the translations it adds this phrase. So if I don't have this, I can just test here. If I save, it's gonna add exactly what I added here before. So yeah. Okay, but I did it manually. It's okay. I don't have to do this anymore. Okay. So yeah, I think it's okay. So let's overview this again. Users will have a relation with translations table between yeah, users will have a relation with with users will have a relation with the translations table between users will have a relation with the translations table, but using these users translations table, because it's like an intermediary between these tables. So the user translations will be responsible for store the user ID and the translation ID. So with this information, I can assume that this user made this translation. So that is it. Basically, that's it. And okay. So translations have relation with users, and users translations and translation phrase, because it's gonna be referenced here in this translation phrase. And here in the users translations, yeah, I think that's okay. Our schema is okay. It's following our draw here. I have basically 4 tables: users, translations, user translations, and translation phrase. Basically, this is the 2 entities of the project. This table is to relate users and translations, and this table is to store the sentences translated and inserted in some context that the AI model will give this to us. So okay, now we have to configure the Docker locally to run some database with Postgres, and then with this configured, we can run this schema of Prisma here and create the tables and see what's happened. So let's create Docker here. When configuring a Docker environment, I like to create some folder here like infra, and then Docker compose YAML here. So basically, I will have here the configuration to my Docker file. So yeah, I'm just configuring this Docker here. I will configure this Docker here because I want to run a database locally with Docker to simulate a real database, you know. So I have to simulate this to run it locally here, and with this I don't have to pay some cloud service to just to test my application. So something like that. And now I am looking for some copy and paste here with Docker that I have here. Okay, so I'm gonna just throw it here. Okay, paste here. Okay, basically the service name I will change here. It's Smart Translator DB local DB. It's just for organization. I'm gonna use the image of Postgres latest. I think it's that. I don't know if it's here. Yeah, let's test if this works. And Smart Translator local DB, and then I have to create these environment variables because I will run this Docker composing file, but I'm gonna tell the Docker that I want to use the .env. So these variables will come from the .env file. So okay, let's create each one of them. So I have Postgres user, post local user, password b, host, and port. So 1 2 3 4 5 3 4 5. Okay, that's it. And now to use this environment variables, I can do something like interpolation here doing this. So okay, if everything is right, if I run some Docker compose command here, it would be everything okay. But I have to pass the path to this .env before. So let's remember what's the command here. So I have to Docker compose and then I pass the path to the Docker Compose file. So it's in infra docker compose.yml. Then I can add env file and pass .env here up d to run in the detached mode. It's env file here. Okay, it runs. If I ps, okay, I'm gonna just stop all my Docker running here. Just to test if the command is working well from the scratch. Okay, I don't have nothing here running with Docker. And then I'm gonna run that command docker compose, passing the path to this file and the path to the .env file. So if I run docker ps, okay, it's not this is not right. So I have to, let's remember the command compose. Yeah, email. Okay, I got it, because it's trying to get the default Postgres user, default Postgres password, but in this .env I don't have default before here as the prefix. I just have Postgres. So I'm gonna remove this, and then if I run this command, okay, it's running my container. So docker yes smart translator here. My container is running now. So okay, what it means, it means that now I am able to run my database with Postgres locally with Docker. So I'm gonna just configure some command here in the package.json to start this Docker every time I initialize the project. So let's just add a .env here to not trace here. Okay, and okay, so I'm gonna just add some comments here to make my life easier. So docker compose, I can put that exactly comment that I just run now. So docker compose -f -f. Let's see if the command is right. Yeah. And then I pass the path to the docker compose file, infra docker compose YAML. Okay. Before I will have, no, I want to put here a file. Now we have to docker services up. I'm gonna call this services up to run this docker compose, but I'm gonna add up comment to run this, and -D to run in detached mode. And then I'm gonna add services down command to just to shut down the command, the Docker. Sorry. npm docker poser down. Okay, so let's test all these scripts. So if I run npm services up, it just starts my container and run it. And if I run these services down, oh my god, services. Okay, it shuts down my Docker up. Okay, it's working fine. So I will add here in the prefix of the dev command the npm docker services up instead, and next dev. So okay, if I run npm dev here, it's gonna run my container before and then run the project, the next dev project. So okay, it's configured here, but now I have to run to keep my Docker running, and then I will run Prisma generate command. Let's check the documentation. Okay, connect to database. We already did it. Okay, let's try to run just the npx to execute Prisma migrate dev. Okay, so I put a name to the migration, and that's it. I think it's okay. Creating migration here, creating the tables, the indexes, constraints. Let's check the Prisma Studio here to check everything. Everything is working fine. Oh, the UI of the Prisma Studio changed. Okay, translation phrases, table translations, users, and translations. So let's do a simple test here. I have a users table, and I'm gonna add a record. Gabriel user mail.com 1 2 3, and okay. Okay, I have a user here. I'm gonna add a translation. Add target word like title. It's título in Portuguese. It's from English. I think I'm gonna put this here, and language 2 it's BR. Okay, save change. Okay, I have a user and I have a translation here. Now I'm gonna relate these two things in the user's translation here. Okay, so I'm gonna add here a user ID. I have to put a real user ID here. If I don't put the user ID, it's gonna fail. So okay, I'm gonna add a translation ID here too. Here. Okay, and let's save it. Okay, I have now a user, a translation, and a relation between these two tables, because users translations have a user ID and a translation ID. So that's it. I can see the user, and I can see the translation here. So with this data, I know that this user made this translation, and it is stored here all in my database. So okay, translation phrases will be just the relation between the translation table, and add some sentence here with the translated word or phrase. I don't know, but yeah, it's working. I think we did a very good job today. We configured the entire Prisma with the schema of the tables, and then as a plus, we configured the Docker locally, running with Postgres, and that's it. In the next video, I'm gonna create a seed script, always following the documentation. So seed command to like a dump to my database, just to build the UI before I in fact do the core application functions, something like that. I'm gonna create just a simple UI with the dump of my database before. So yeah, I hope you guys understand what I am speaking, and I hope you guys are enjoying this video. And that's it. See you in the next video. Uh, guys, I was just watching the recorded video, and I was thinking about the database schema, and I just realized that we don't need this table here to make uh, the relation between these two tables, because the relation here is that a user can have a lot of translations, but a translation is owned only by one user. So we don't need this table here. So let's just fix it in the code. So we don't need this user translations table. I can just put directly the user ID on the translation tables. So the translations table. So I'm going to put user ID string, and it's going to be a ID. So I can put the type here, the UID, and map to snake case here. No, let's use the autocomplete here. Users save, and that's done for photos. And then I'm gonna just map here. Okay, so I just added users ID column here and added reference to it here. So okay, now in the users table we have translations. So every user has can have a lot of translations, but a translation is owned only by one user, and a translation can have a lot of translation phrases. So okay, now I think it's better. It's so much better and easier to understand. See you guys.